One of the many aspects which has divided audience opinion over the Star Wars sequel trilogy is the role lineage plays in shaping the destiny of the characters. The original Star Wars saga placed some emphasis on the relevance of the hero's lineage in establishing their connection to the Force, revealing Luke to be the son of Darth Vader, one of the most powerful Force users in the galaxy. While these films established no rules stating that biological inheritance was the sole, exclusive way people were granted connection to the Force, they implied it at least had a prominent part to play, and that a connection to the Force could be genetically inherited. The second instalment of the Disney-era sequel saga, The Last Jedi, arguably actively attempted to destroy this canonical thread, the notion or tradition of heroes being born of significant or legendary parentage. In The Force Awakens, the mystery of Rey's parents' identity was set up, implying some significant ultimate reveal. Again, in The Last Jedi, this promise was met with a twist, as her parents were said to be morally contemptible nobodies, this subverting the expectation that she might have been part of some powerful lineage, a reveal that might have given some form of explanation for her unprecedented level of connection to the Force. In the instalment which followed this, The Rise of Skywalker, this revelation about Rey's lineage was awkwardly retracted when she was newly revealed to be the granddaughter of Palpatine, not a nobody after all, but in fact a descendant of the former supreme ruler of the galaxy. But that decision was clearly driven by corporate priorities formed by the audience reception to The Last Jedi reveal, which turned out to be so unsatisfactory to so many. Anyway, let's put that aside and stick to what was seemingly the original intention, to establish that Rey's parentage was irrelevant to her future, to her heroics, and to her connection to the Force. Before the release of The Rise of Skywalker complicated matters, based on the events of The Last Jedi relating to the reveal about Rey's parents, the claim has often been made, on one side of the audience divide, that the new films have changed the canon for the better, because now anyone can have the Force. People don't have to be part of a royal bloodline anymore. I use royal in quotation marks because while that word is thrown around a lot with regards to this topic, it's used somewhat vaguely, given the complex background and dynamics of the societal status and history of the original trilogy and prequel trilogy characters to which it pertains. Within the Skywalker family, Padme was a queen and subsequently a politician, so she was literally royal at one point, and still an influential member of society after stepping down from her throne. But she didn't have a connection to the Force. That came from Anakin, who certainly did not come from royalty or high society. He was born into slavery, from which he escaped because of his connection to the Force and resultant training as a Jedi. He rose to a place of authority and power in society because of his strong connection to the Force. He did not have a strong connection to the Force because of any precedent high societal status. Leia was a princess, and Luke was a peasant farmer raised on a barren desert planet. It's a messy family situation. It would be too simplistic to characterise this entire family as royal or aristocratic in a definitive way. There's a sense in which the characterisation of the Skywalker family as royals is metaphorical, because although not every member was literally royal, they were a dynasty of heroes imbued with a degree of exclusive importance. The saga revolved around this one family, so in a metaphorical sense, they were a royal bloodline of sorts. So yes, people don't have to be part of a metaphorical or literal royal bloodline to be heroes anymore. Really, it's not exactly clear that they ever did in the first place, in spite of the saga primarily revolving around one family. It just so happened that two of the main heroes from the original trilogy were part of such a lineage, this being Luke and Leia, the children of one other powerful Force user. That's a pretty small sample size. So the claim has often been made that by ushering in this apparent change, the sequel trilogy takes the franchise forward, progresses it into more inclusive territory. Access to the Force has been opened up so that now anyone can have it. This was the kind of sentiment that was passed around about the new films prior to The Rise of Skywalker. But the central claim is most vexing, because really, these films achieve the exact opposite of this supposed virtue people claim they have. In the original saga, it was certainly implied that the strength of a person's connection to the Force was genetically inherited, However, it was never stated that it was definitively, exclusively genetically inherited for all, leaving the details about whether or not this was the case unexplored. The prequel saga added new context to this question, with the introduction of metachlorians, microscopic organisms in the bloodstream which could be quantified to scientifically measure someone's level of connection to the Force. It then became less vague, mysterious, and mystical as to how the Force manifested in this part of the film series. Slightly, anyway. It was a more materialistic explanation, which could imply a direct link between ancestry and a connection to the Force, and there was even brief suggestion of this within the first of the prequel films. However, once again, it did not unequivocally confirm that ancestry was the only explanation for someone's metachlorian count. Anakin was theorised to have been created by the Force itself, implying that metachlorians, and thus the Force, manifested in places and people as an independent phenomenon, not tied exclusively to the biology of a host. After all, there was an entire order comprised of thousands of Jedi, and almost none of them have any aspect of their backgrounds before their Jedi training explored at all. No one knows anything about their lineage, or whether or not their ancestors were Force users. I know there's expanded universe material which probably explores the background of some of these characters, but still, most of them go unexplored and none of them are explored within the actual film series. Anyway, furthermore, even if someone had inherited their connection to the Force in this prior saga of 6 films, it wasn't simply enough to have a connection to the Force alone, or high metachlorian count or whatever. In order to harness such a connection, a Jedi had to undergo years of disciplined training and study. In the sequel trilogy, this is no longer the case. In these films, people are simply imbued with a connection to the Force, and the ability to harness it with ease and precision, without having to undergo any study or process of self-discipline at all. As well as that, in these new films, only select people are granted this connection to the Force, and it happens at random. In what way is this a more egalitarian distribution of the privilege of Force powers among the people of the galaxy? It's not. In one sense, the Force users of these new films are granted their powers through even more of a rigid, exclusionary process now. To a certain extent, it may as well be biologically determined, because that's how it functions in numerous key regards. The end result for the person who gets the Force is the same as if they'd inherited it. It doesn't matter that these new Force users may not have any ancestors who could use the Force, because their connection to the Force, and their ability to harness it, is still functionally hardwired into them, as if they inherited it from their ancestors, as if it's encoded in their DNA. A truly egalitarian way for Force powers to be distributed would be by establishing the opposite of this new system of selection, i.e. making it so that everyone had a connection to the Force, and would be able to harness it with the right training, study, and extensive meditation. Genuine equal opportunity for everyone to have access to this natural binding force of the universe would necessitate just that, everyone having access to it. Not forming a random lottery system where some people are granted the Force and the ability to use it with extreme proficiency just by virtue of birth, and everyone else is isolated from it. But anyway, what do you think? Do you agree with the points raised here, or do you have an opposing point of view? Do you like the way this aspect of the new films transpired? Do you dislike it? Or do you not mind either way? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe for more videos like this, and others about other things as well. Thanks for watching. See you next time.